President Obama reining in some U.S. spying operations in a much-anticipated speech today. Welcome to your Friday afternoon news hub. I'm Sarah Murray. President Obama not only putting an end to the mass collection of Americans' phone records, but also offering protections for non-U.S. citizens and saying the U.S. will stop spying on heads of state for close U.S. allies. It was a pretty sweeping speech, and that's why we brought in Colonel Cedric Leighton. He's a former Deputy Director of Training at the National Security Agency, and he is going to help break it down with his key takeaways. Hi, Colonel.
Hi, Sarah. It's good to be with you.
Thanks for being here. So one of the big things the president said he would do is stop directly spying on heads of state for our allies. Let's take a look at what he said about that.
I've made clear to the intelligence community that unless there is a compelling national security purpose, we will not monitor the communications of heads of state and government of our close friends and allies. And I've instructed my national security team, as well as the intelligence community, to work with foreign counterparts to deepen our coordination and cooperation in ways that rebuild trust going forward.
Now, Colonel, you think that this could actually allow for closer cooperations with our allies. Why is that?
I do, Sarah, and the reason is that these types of relationships are always obviously very sensitive, but now the U.S. and Germany and France and other countries that were affected by the Snowden revelations are looking at this in almost a new light because, of course, the Germans, for example, were very insulted that the United States would be spying on Angela Merkel's cell phone. Well, now what can happen as a result of this is the United States has basically said, yes, we have done that, but now they can go forward and say, look, we will bring you in to a closer intelligence relationship with us. The relationship has already been fairly close, but it can be made even closer. And this gives the United States an opportunity to actually be able to do that with the Germans, with the French, and probably with a few other countries as well.
One of the other things the president pointed out is that the digital era has completely changed the national security game. I mean, he said that we cannot prevent terrorist attacks or cyber threats without some capability to penetrate digital communications, whether it's to unravel a terrorist plot, to intercept malware that targets a stock exchange. You're a former intelligence official. What's your take on that?
Well, I agree completely with what he said in this case because cyber attacks are basically the new kinds of attacks that we can expect. And as we saw in the case, for example, of the Target breach or the Neiman Marcus breach, they can affect millions of people. So when you're talking 70 million people being affected by what amounts to a cyber attack, that can have a significant impact not only on the people themselves, but also on the economy of the nation as a whole. And because of that, you're running into a situation where you really have to make sure that your defenses are robust enough so that you can detect attacks like this, prevent them if possible, or if that's not possible, mitigate those attacks. And if you do that, if you do all of those, then you have a better chance of actually being able to at least stay equal to, if not a step ahead of, the cyber terrorists, whether they be hackers, state-sponsored terrorists, or nation-states themselves that are engaged in cyber attacks. So this is a very, very key point, and it serves to modernize the way in which the intelligence community and NSA in particular are doing their business.
Now, even though the president kind of tried to walk a line between intelligence community and civil liberties today, you think that nobody's going to be really happy with this. What makes you say that?
Well, I would say that the extremes on either the left or the right are not going to be happy with it because once you start implementing policies that have actual concrete effects on how an agency like NSA does business, how people interact with that agency, what the agency does in terms of coverage, that's going to really impact on what actually happens. And so, for example, if you're looking at it from the left point of view, you're going to see a whole bunch of civil liberties issues that are going to crop up. And that's going to be the same kind of thing that will happen with people like Rand Paul on the right. So each one of these camps, whether it be the left or the right, will probably draw some solace from the fact that they are going to be able to actually have some reforms within NSA, within the intelligence process and the procedures with the FISA courts, for example. But then on the other hand, what's going to happen is they're going to notice that in effect, the intelligence gathering mechanism is still in place and it will continue. And President Obama basically said as much. He's going to keep that intelligence mechanism operational with new safeguards, with new oversight, or at least new degrees of oversight. And in that sense, those sides won't be happy. People in the intelligence community, I think, though, will be generally happy with this. Most of them are really not interested in going after bulk data because it's too cumbersome to deal with. They're trying to find better ways of doing this, better ways of accomplishing the mission. So they think that they will be able to deal with this, and I think they can do it, especially as they get more efficient at processing data and going after the targets that we really need to prosecute.